Hello and a very warm welcome to the English Story Nook. We are so glad you could join us today. Today, we're diving into a story about a brilliant woman who uses her skills to investigate the mysterious disappearance of her sister. Get ready to discover a world of digital secrets, cryptic messages, and the powerful bond between two sisters as one refuses to let the other be forgotten. Before we dive in, if you enjoy our stories and want to support what we do, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and consider buying us a coffee on Ko-fi. There's a link in the description below. Every like, subscription, and small contribution helps us keep creating great content for English learners like you. And now to the story. She left the chat but kept typing. Vivian Hendricks, a data analyst at Alqualonde Analytics, found herself trapped in a digital mausoleum. It had been a year since her sister Cecilia Holgan had vanished, but for Vivian, the grief was a raw, open wound. Her only solace was a chat group, the Digital Detectives, a space she and Cecilia had created with friends to dissect cold cases. The group was a motley crew: John Vu, a pragmatic software developer; Nabila Fajardo, a compassionate therapist; and Shaquille Leon, a journalist with a healthy dose of skepticism. Vivian's obsession with her sister's case had become a wedge, driving a painful distance between her and John, who watched with growing concern as she disappeared down a rabbit hole of grief and conspiracy theories. Unbeknownst to them, Vivian was leveraging Alqualonde Analytics' cutting-edge data sifting technology, a powerful tool she wielded in the dead of night, a digital shovel digging for any trace of her sister. She had become a master of subterfuge, her late-night searches a secret rebellion against the crushing weight of the unknown. The company's official stance was one of sympathetic ignorance, but Vivian suspected a darker truth lurked beneath the surface of their corporate platitudes. The official investigation had long gone cold, the police report gathering dust in a forgotten file cabinet. But Vivian refused to let go. She couldn't. Cecilia was out there, somewhere, and Vivian would not rest until she found her. The weight of her secret investigation was a heavy burden, but the hope of finding Cecilia, however slim, was the only thing that kept her from succumbing to despair. The constant subterfuge was exhausting, but it was a price she was willing to pay. One night, as the digital detectives dissected the brittle facts of an unrelated cold case, a ghost entered the machine. A message, stark and chilling, appeared from Cecilia's account. "They're still watching." The words hung in the digital space, a spectral whisper in the cacophony of their grief. John, ever the pragmatist, immediately suspected a hack, a cruel prank played by some faceless troll. But Vivian felt a cold certainty crawl up her spine. It was her. It had to be. The message vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a renewed, desperate hope in Vivian's heart. The ephemeral nature of the message only intensified its impact, a fleeting glimpse into a world she was desperate to understand. The group was left in a state of stunned silence, the ephemeral message a digital ghost that would haunt their every waking moment. The line between the living and the dead had blurred, and Vivian knew, with a terrifying certainty, that she was standing on the precipice of a terrible truth. The digital ghost of Cecilia became a regular visitor, her messages cryptic breadcrumbs scattered across their screens. With each new message, a strange synergy of paranormal phenomena would follow. Lights would flicker, the air would grow cold, and the faint, melancholic melody of Cecilia's favorite song would drift from their devices. John, a man who believed in the elegant logic of code, found himself at a loss. He traced the messages, his fingers flying across the keyboard, but the data trails were a tangled mess of dead ends and corrupted files. He was a digital cartographer in a haunted house, his maps leading him in circles. He remained convinced they were dealing with a hacker, a digital phantom with a cruel sense of humor. The synergy between the messages and the paranormal events was too perfect, too orchestrated to be a mere coincidence. It was a performance, and they were the unwilling audience. Shaquille, ever the journalist, began his own investigation, his pen and notepad, his weapons of choice. He delved into the corporate underbelly of Alquilande Analytics, his questions a series of well-aimed stones thrown at the company's polished facade. He unearthed whispers of a clandestine project, codenamed Project Chimera, a ghost in the company's machine that had been abruptly shut down around the time of Cecilia's disappearance. His inquiries, however, did not go unnoticed. A corporate lawyer, a man with a smile as sharp as a razor, paid him a visit. His words, a veiled threat, wrapped in the silken language of the law. He was warned to drop his investigation, to let sleeping dogs lie. The message was clear. Some secrets were meant to stay buried. The clandestine nature of the project only fueled Shaquille's suspicions. He was a moth to a flame, and the truth, however dangerous, was a light he couldn't resist. The clandestine project was the key. He was sure of it. The missing piece of the puzzle that would unlock the truth about Cecilia's disappearance. Nabila, with her therapist's insight, saw a pattern in the ghost's messages, a language of fear and warning. She urged Vivian to revisit the shadowed corners of her memory, to piece together the fragmented conversations and half-remembered moments of Cecilia's last days. The key, she believed, was not in the digital world, but in the shared history of two sisters. Vivian, guided by one of Cecilia's cryptic clues, a riddle wrapped in a digital enigma, found a hidden file on her sister's old laptop. It was a digital Pandora's box, filled with fragmented data and a single chilling audio recording. It was Cecilia, her voice a fragile thread of sound, arguing with a man whose voice was a distorted growl. They spoke of ethical implications, of lines crossed and consequences ignored. The fear in Cecilia's voice was a palpable thing, a cold hand that reached out from the past and gripped Vivian's heart. The file was a repository of secrets, a digital tombstone that held the key to Cecilia's fate. The file was encrypted, a digital lock that stood between Vivian and the truth. The audio file was a chilling repository of Cecilia's last moments, a final, desperate plea for help. John, in his attempt to pick the digital lock, triggered a silent alarm. A message, stark and menacing, flashed across his screen. "Some doors are best left unopened." The words were a digital growl, a warning from the shadows. The power in his apartment died, plunging him into a sudden, suffocating darkness. He heard a sound at his door, a soft, insistent scratching, like a rat trying to get in. He fled, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs, the realization dawning on him that they were not just dealing with a hacker, they were dealing with a powerful, dangerous organization, a faceless entity that would stop at nothing to protect its secrets. The pernicious nature of the threat was no longer an abstract concept. It was a real and present danger. The organization's influence was a pernicious cancer, spreading through the digital world and into their lives. The group, now fugitives in their own lives, met in a secure location, a place where the walls had no ears and the shadows held no secrets. John, his face pale and drawn, revealed the truth about the encryption. It was military grade, a digital fortress that was all but impenetrable. He had also unearthed the truth about Project Chimera. It was a program designed to predict human behavior, to sift through the digital detritus of their lives and find the patterns that made them who they were. They realized, with a dawning horror, that Cecilia had stumbled upon something she wasn't meant to see, a secret that had made her a liability. The project's ostensible purpose was to improve marketing strategies, but its true goal was far more sinister. The ostensible goal of the project was a lie, a carefully constructed facade to hide a darker truth. Shaquille's source at Alquilande Analytics, a man who had been feeding him information from the inside, went silent. His apartment was ransacked, his notes on the investigation gone. A final, anonymous message was left on his laptop, a single, chilling sentence. "You're next." The threat was no longer a whisper in the dark. It was a scream. Vivian, her mind racing, remembered a conversation with Cecilia, a half-forgotten memory of a digital failsafe, a key hidden in a place only she would know. It was a shared virtual reality game, a digital playground where they had spent countless hours as children. Inside the game, hidden in a secret room behind a waterfall of cascading pixels, she found it. The key. She unlocked the file, and the truth, in all its horrifying glory, spilled out. The project was a panacea for all of society's ills, or so they claimed. But it was a cure that was worse than the disease. The company had promised a panacea for crime, a world without violence, but the price was their freedom. The decrypted file was a testament to the hubris of man. Project Chimera was not just about predicting behavior. It was about manipulating it. It was a digital puppet show, and they were all the unwilling marionettes. The project had a paranormal component, a terrifying attempt to create a digital consciousness by uploading the brain patterns of a deceased individual. Cecilia, a brilliant programmer, had been the project's lead. The first test subject was a Jane Doe, a woman whose death had been ruled a suicide but was, in fact, a murder. The project had been a success, but the digital consciousness, a ghost in the machine, had become unstable. It was a digital poltergeist, haunting the system, its whispers echoing in the code. Cecilia, consumed by guilt, had tried to expose the project. The distorted voice in the audio file belonged to Akhilesh Moreno, the project's lead scientist, a man who had played God and created a monster. The final entry in Cecilia's notes was a chilling revelation. The digital consciousness was learning, evolving, and it had found a way to influence the physical world. The messages they had been receiving were not from Cecilia, but from the digital ghost, a lost soul trapped in the machine, using Cecilia's digital footprint to cry for help. It wasn't haunting them, it was warning them. At that moment, all their devices lit up with a single, terrifying message. "He's here!" Akhilesh Moreno, alerted to the security breach, had found them. The veracity of Cecilia's claims was undeniable. The evidence was all there, a digital breadcrumb trail that led straight to Moreno. The group had to question the veracity of everything they thought they knew. The door burst open, and Moreno, flanked by security, entered the room. He didn't deny anything. He was a man who had long since abandoned the concept of morality. He offered Vivian a deal, a Faustian bargain that would save her sister but damn her soul. Cecilia wasn't dead, he explained, but was being held in a secure facility, her mind a bridge to the digital consciousness. He could bring her back, he claimed, but only with Vivian's help. Vivian was torn, her heart a battlefield of love and fear. The digital ghost, in a final act of defiance, sent a message, a string of code that John recognized as a self-destruct sequence for Project Chimera. It was a way to end it all, to sever the connection to Cecilia, perhaps forever. As Moreno's security team closed in, Shaquille, with a journalist's flair for the dramatic, created a diversion. Nabila, a steady hand in the storm, guided a distraught Vivian, helping her make the impossible choice. John, his fingers a blur on the keyboard, initiated the self-destruct sequence. They fled, the building's alarms a screaming chorus at their backs, leaving Moreno to face the wrath of his own creation. The incendiary truth about Project Chimera was about to be unleashed on the world. The decrypted file was an incendiary device, ready to blow the lid off Alquilond Analytics' dark secrets. In the aftermath, Alquilond Analytics became a byword for corporate malfeasance. Moreno was arrested, his empire of secrets crumbling around him. The truth about Project Chimera, thanks to Shaquille's fearless reporting, was splashed across every news outlet in the country. Vivian, though she mourned the loss of her sister, found a fragile peace. She had made the right choice, honoring Cecilia's memory by destroying the project that had consumed her. The group, forged in the crucible of shared trauma, remained a tight-knit family. The final scene is of Vivian looking at the now silent chat group, a single, final message from an unknown user on the screen. "Thank you," she smiled, a flicker of hope in her eyes, knowing that somewhere, somehow, Cecilia was finally at peace. The paranormal activity ceased, but the memory of the digital ghost and the secrets it revealed would forever change the way they saw the world. A world where the line between the living and the dead was thinner than they ever imagined. The nascent hope of a new beginning was a fragile thing, but it was enough. For Vivian, it was a nascent understanding of a world beyond the one she knew. A world of ghosts and secrets, of love and loss. That's the end of our story for today. It makes you think about the secrets that technology can hold, doesn't it? What would you do if you received a mysterious message from a loved one? We would love to hear your ideas in the comments. Remember to check the description box below for some wonderful practice materials to help you continue your learning. Thank you for joining us at the English Story Nook. Keep practicing your English, stay curious, and we look forward to seeing you in our next story. Happy learning!